And I know some of you, I think most of you have been to a handful of our events. I know some of you know our preferred partners and some of you don't. So I also know it's a fine line. Anybody who's had any success in real estate, whether it's a little or a lot, is used to being harassed by vendors constantly. I just want to guarantee you that's not going to happen here today. I mean, look, nothing that we do with real producers is possible without the support of our preferred partners. As great as you think the publication is and the platform is and the events are, bottom line, I can't do what I do. Our staff can't do what we do without the support of our preferred partners. So they're not here today to sell themselves. They're really here to be a resource. As you are the best of the best in your field, talking to the realtors, our partners are the best of the best in their field. So I'm sure they would be glad to connect with you after if they can help in any way. But the reason I invited them on the Zoom today is, they are experts in their specific areas, and I believe they just can be a good resource moving forward in working with just the unique obstacles and challenges that this year has sort of thrown at us. So the partners, let's see here, Kristine, I'm just going to go in order of when you hopped on. Kristine, if you don't mind going first. Alex, and then Lisa, same thing, just name, your industry, and then how long you've been in your field for. Kristine, take it away.
Sure. So I'm Kristine, and I own a Goosehead Insurance agency. We work as brokers in the market, and we specialize in real estate insurance, specifically here in Chicago. And I've been in insurance over 10 years. So thanks for having me.
This is Alex Margulis. I'm with CrossCountry Mortgage, which morphed into CrossCountry from Pearl about 1.5 years ago. So I've been with Pearl for about 13 plus years, but in the industry for almost 20.
My name is Lisa Raimondi. I have my own firm. I'm an attorney. I've been practicing real estate for probably about close to 25 years now. Real estate for about 20.
Joining us from Central California with the Golden Gate Bridge there.
That was
suspended in midair.
I had to. Hey,
either here or New York usually are my two backgrounds. So
that's right. Hey, full transparency. I'm in my basement right now, so let's get real. So anyway, well, yeah. So I appreciate everybody sharing. So, I have found with these, people get more value out of them the more I am quiet. Obviously, if there's an awkward 27-second pause in the middle of this, I have some kind of canned questions that I'll ask to help foster conversation, but this is your time. I want people to get the most value out of this as they can. So I'd like, and if some brave soul wants to go first, maybe take a few minutes to share an update on what they're experiencing in the market. And if there's any just insights that they have transitioned from, hey, I was doing this pre-COVID and this is what I'm doing now, and I don't think I'll go back to doing what I was before, because I've been knocking it out of the park with X strategy. So Riz, if you wouldn't mind, I asked him to go first just to kind of share what he's been doing. I know he's having a good year so far. So Riz, just take it away. And it's very open-ended, either market, what you're experiencing, or just anything that you've new strategies that you've been implementing and what's been working or even not working. So go ahead, my friend.
Okay, sure. In a word, I'm busy. I have been really busy. I would say probably for the last 8 weeks, I've worked 7 days a week. So I am really curious to see what other people are seeing. But I think this quarantine work from home situation has made a lot of people realize that they need a bigger space, or my God, I hate my house. I need to be in a different place. So I'm seeing a lot of that. Honestly, you would not think we're in the middle of a pandemic right now with how busy the work is. As of this week, I have matched my sales numbers for all of last year. I don't know where this is coming from. I'm grateful. I will take it. I will work 70, 80 hours a week right now. So yeah, that's where I am in terms of new strategies. I don't even know if I've had a chance to think about new strategies. I've been just trying to keep up right now. So I'm really curious to see what other people are seeing in the marketplace. Am I getting lucky and it's just a year where so much of my sphere is coming together, or is this kind of an across the board thing? I thought it was definitely happening more in the marketplace. Then saw some news data yesterday that said, "Ooh, sales are down, so much over last year." So I'm really curious to hear from this group about, how their business is doing right now.
Have you guys seen this? Are we just going now, or are we going around?
Pretty much.
Have you guys seen the showing time? They own InfoSparks as well. So obviously they get not everyone uses showing time, but they get a pretty close look at the number of showings. Have you seen this graph that they have been tracking? I wish this existed all the time. It's amazing. But it's a graph of showings on a trailing 7-day average. I'm going to chat it to the group right now. So obviously contract.
Real quick, if you want to, I can enable the screen sharing if you want to screen share it. Is that easier or?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
I trust you. I trust you won't share anything crazy. So.
Nice.
A lot of faith in him.
Yeah, seriously, a lot of faith. I don't know. I'm going to X out of a few things really quickly. So,
good.
All right, cool. Let me try it. This one. So you can see where the pandemic hit. That's that orange line. Obviously, contracts are the best. Contracts are a good leading indicator, and it's a little more concrete than showings of like where prices are, or at least where demand is. But showings are even leading that. So like, I'm not sure which article. I see stuff like that all the time that sort of seems to either miss the big picture or be behind. But like, if you're talking about closed sales, like they're going to be way down for May because it takes 45 days to close. But I mean, this orange line here is now above. I mean, and we had a soft second half of 2019, right? But we're now above by a lot where we were in 2019 in terms of the number of showings, which I think, I don't know what you guys think. I think that would be a decent indication. It seems to certainly bear out with what Riz was saying. We're having the same experience this year. Like it's been bonkers busy. So we did just have this little nosedive here since over the last week or so. So that was kind of interesting. But this wasn't a holiday weekend, was it? Was there anything?
But people have
Father's Day. Father's Day.
Opening up.
Father's Day.
That's what it was. Yeah.
I was out of town this weekend because I'm a terrible fan.
Next weekend might be interesting to see what the long weekend what that brings.
So yeah, I don't know if you guys have been having the same experience, but Riz, I know how you feel. I'm just like, what? Pandemic?
Right. Okay.
No? Pandemic? Okay. Cool.
Imagine what it would have been like without a pandemic, right?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I don't know. Probably better, but I think that was interesting about, people being sick at their houses. Maybe they are.
Yeah, I'm not sure it would have been better. I think that now people have, realized, this is going to be around for a while. Working from home is turning into a longer term scenario for a lot of people. And they need more space.
Having our kids at home.
Yeah, I'm seeing a big shift of my buyers that were looking for like 2-bedroom, 2-bath condos in like Lincoln Park, Lakeview are now shifting to wanting a suburban home with a yard and a whole house right around the same price point. And these are people that were very adamant about not going to the suburbs until they were quarantined, and they were like, we got to get out of here. Or the shift was, we're in a 1-bedroom now. We're looking for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo. That's still going to be too small. We need more space. I'm willing to live in Glenview or Morton Grove. instead of Lincoln Park or Lakeview, going to be working from home anyhow. You know, we're on top of each other and the dogs and the kids, so we need space.
Are those people with kids?
I'm seeing both. I'm seeing like couples, single people. I'm not really seeing that shift, but definitely couples, and then couples with either children or pets.
Yeah, I see that too. My clients are moving even from suburbs to larger lots. So I've had a couple of clients are moving from pretty big houses in Des Plaines on 3 acres or 1.5 acre in Lake Zurich or Barrington.
Well, and I see it too. So, you know, from an insurance perspective, I'm cyclical, just like the real estate space, because that's where I focus. And because I'm in Chicago proper, I have a pretty big swing of condo versus single family home just by transactions going on in the city. And right now, I'm actually lopsided to where I have more single family homes under contract than condos. So I think that follows that same mentality of what people are trying to get more space or yards or, you know, what have you.
Right.
Do you guys think that's going to hold up? Like next year, years out, like, is this a permanent thing? Or, I mean, people are making semi-permanent decisions. So it sounds like they think it's going to be that way for a while.
Well, I mean, with what's happening in the workforce, you have to think of what's happening in the workforce. You know, people are they're thinking, first of all, that there is no vaccine until next year. So the virus is going to be here for at least another 1.5 years. In this case, they're moving their kids from schools, right? So if they're moving their kids from schools, they're not going to move them back. Nobody does that with the kids. So my clients, at least, are even looking at 15-year mortgages or even, you know, whatever type of mortgages they're planning to stay there until the kids finish college. Like I spoke today with 2 people that are looking to actually buy investment and stay where they are and put their mortgages on 15-year because they want to take advantage of the rates, but they don't want to move. So they're saying, like, we are where we already want it to be. So we'll move the mortgage on a 15-year at 2.65 interest rate. And I told them to put them on bi-weekly payments so they pay them off even faster. And then after that, buy condos, buy houses. So with the investments, they can pay up for the kids' college and their retirement. So I think a lot of people are going to continue working from home. Companies have already set up, you know, they have the setup already, right? The network, I was reading an article about Microsoft. They said that they made changes in 2 months when they would have taken them 2 years. They didn't think that they could have done that. So technology-wise, we've seen shifts that normally takes years that already happened. It's hard to go back. Plus, a lot of people, as I think somebody mentioned here, staying home with the kids, a lot of people will discover it is better to be home with the kids instead of staying in traffic, buying lunch, buying coffee, paying gas, right? Like, what's the cost of actually going to the office if you think about it? And the companies are not going to pay that huge rent because they are not going to need the space. They can have meetings as Zoom like we have now, or they can have once a week, couple times a week meetings in the office. I'm even hearing people that are in the lower income level moving to Indiana because for them, they don't want to pay the taxes here. So they're saying instead of paying property tax of $7,000-8,000, we're finding a big house in Indiana and come once a week in the city. It's not a problem now. So that brings me to what we are hearing about the migration from Chicago. Guys, the migration, if you look at the numbers, it's low income people that are migrating. It's not the high income people. The high income people is who's coming in town. So if you look at the statistics, we are getting in actually the highest income people, like highly educated, high income person, that's who's coming in, and who's going out, it's low income people. And a lot of the who's going out actually keeps the jobs in the city. So they're just moving across the border to save money, but the jobs, they still keep them in the city. So when we look at that migration, the numbers are really skewed. Don't trust them because they're not the right numbers.
Yeah, that makes sense. So do you think in 3 years, people will still be opting for, our clients have always, I feel like, walkable neighborhood with coffee shops and bars and restaurants and everything like that has always been number one. And then number 2 is the place itself. And number 3 is commute to work. And I feel like with the commute to work potentially going away, do you think in 3 years people will be saying, I don't want to buy a 2-bed, 2-bath anymore, I need a single family home? Or will that be over? Obviously, the people who buy single family homes now are going to be there for 10, 20 years. But in 3 years, is that trend still going to happen, or is this just like a temporary thing?
It's impossible to say that.
Yeah, I would be, because I think space will continue to be a thing, but you do have that younger buyer that puts location over some of those other things, like you said. I read an article last week that talked about the savings growth that families are having right now because of stay at home. So I would be curious if that focus for the higher income does still stay in the city, but that their ability for the price point goes up because savings has increased 30%. And so they realize, well, I don't commute, so I'm saving this. So they put that into the house budget instead of all these other budgets. So I'd be curious if that average price point goes up, but doesn't necessarily have this huge migration from the city for that consumer, right? The city consumer.
There's one thing you need to live in the city in a house and raise a family. It's a lot of money, or at least.
Well, I think Kristine and Mike, you two are millennials. So you are thinking from the perspective of millennials. But the population that buy homes, right, they are anywhere from millennials to older. And you have to think of who has the wealth, who has the money, right? And what they really want. So there will be different segments of population that will want different things. The lifestyle, I think, is going to change. You know, whoever travels loves the European lifestyle, right? The Asian lifestyle, because people have time to take naps and, you know, work 5 days a week and don't work 7 days a week, and they value their time at night. And with everyone being in quarantine for the last several months, couple months, what happened, people have actually started seeing the value of being home with the kids, being home, you know, having dinner together. Like right now, having, you know, a few friends in the garden, right, in the yard, having lunch. So I think the lifestyle is coming back, like in the sense of how we want to live. We are realizing things are changing fast. For whoever travels, you know, all of a sudden we are stayed home. Like I travel every month usually, and now I can't, right? And I hate it. I mean, I want to get out. I want to spend money. And to tell you the truth, the time thing is like when you're a millennial, you are focused on your savings. But you get to the point where you have money, you build your portfolio, you realize this is my life. I'm not getting younger. If I don't live my life now, you know, at 65, I don't know if my legs are going to work. I don't know if I can travel. I don't know if I can enjoy life, right? It's something else. And if I want to travel with my kids or with the family I have now, they're going to be in college, they're going to be married, they're not going to work. So I actually envision more spending into travel, into restaurants, because people value companionship and friendships and the lifestyle. I think that's we're going to actually see more money to that, believe it or not. And in 3 years, Mike, to go back to what you asked, I think that you are still going to have the millennials stay in the city. The retirees, they're not going to want to cut the grass in the suburbs. If their kids are gone, guess what? It makes no sense to clean the snow in the winter. They want to be next to those cafes, next to the theater, next to, you know, where their friends are downtown, and be able to get into the train or and go to the airport and travel. Because Chicago being so cold, the people with money are not going to spend winters here anymore, especially when you can still work from far, right? So you can spend, I'm not kidding, over 20 people in my life that have already booked houses in Florida, in Texas, in California over the next winter. Like, it's unbelievable. And these are people with kids, people that are working, they're in their 40s, they're in their 50s. These are not retirees. But they are saying, I am not spending another winter here if I don't have to be here. So seriously, we are going to see changes, guys, but not across the board. The millennials, they're going to focus on the money. They're going to focus on, you know, building a family, building resources. So we'll all be different, like different generations will do different things.
I have an interesting thing to add to what Lumi was just saying. I have a personal friend who is a client as well. They do well for themselves. They're my age. They're in their 40s essentially. No kids, just a couple, and the guy owns a condo, 2-bedroom, whatever, in West Town, and they also own a bigger, nicer condo in Logan Square, which they're ready to sell. And I asked them, great, so let's talk about refinance or pre-approvals because you're about to buy a next home. They're like, nope, no thanks. We're just going to travel in the wintertime and live in the rental during the rest of the year in a smaller condo. So this, maybe they're an anomaly, maybe they're not, because they're saying like, look, we're going to work from home going forward. Why do we need to worry about a huge space in the city? And we're going to have this lifestyle, just travel in the wintertime. Interesting.
Totally. And like I said, I work with investors, so a lot of my investors, that's the lifestyle they're setting up themselves. That's the lifestyle I'm setting myself to do. For the last couple of years, I've been traveling in the winter, and working. My clients have no idea that I'm gone, right? Because we work from our phone and from our laptop. I mean, nobody knows, and I've learned not to tell them because sometimes they panic if they think that I'm away, right? So, truth to be told, it makes sense. And in Chicago, it's one of the cities that pays well. Believe it or not, the jobs pay extremely well, because I've had clients that have moved completely to Florida, to Texas. I have clients that are nurses, and 2 of them have got from $95,000 a year salary to 60. I mean, that's a huge paycheck. That's a huge pay cut. Huge, if you think about it. Even if they, one of them went to Florida, is like, oh, I'm not paying state tax. I'm like, are you comparing $35,000 in pay tax with 5% and 95? I mean, it makes no sense. But again, the life will change. I think life will change, and people will value more relationships, will value more lifestyle, that will value, having that because, but the ones with the kids that have to, and that's another thing that I want to bring up. I don't know if you guys have kids, because I see a lot of younger people here. So the numbers, the statistics have come back about schooling, and it's considered the school doesn't work online. So the online is not working for the little kids. So they're not learning anything. So the schools will have to start, the kids will have to go back to school. Yeah. Even the colleges, it's so funny, but even the colleges, they're saying they're going to do a combination. They still want the students in class part of time, because again, it's not working. So we know that the parents are kind of going to be stuck in the, where they are. This next winter, the schools in the suburbs have already sent out announcements that parents can choose if their kids will go to school full-time, part-time, and do a combination part-time and online schooling, or just do online. So that's why the next winter, parents can leave town with the kids and keep them online if they want to. But the suburb schooling will stay. And the city, so the parent with kids will stay. So that, again, a few cents. I'm big in market statistics, so I'm always reading statistics. So I base the information a lot on it, even though I know it can be 100% accurate.
So quick question, guys. I know we're all busy now, and we are definitely thank you for it, right? But where do you guys see the market a year from now? I get a lot of calls. I get obviously from the news, because not from the news, from my clients, because by watching the news, they're all thinking, the real estate is going to crash, and they're all waiting for the right time to buy. But where do you guys see it a year from now?
I just got off the phone. I just got off the phone with somebody before this call, who's literally was under contract on a place and in town. Actually, they live out in Elgin. They wanted an in town, and I guess they backed out of the contract. This is before I talked to them. They found us online. They backed out of the contract because they were worried about prices falling, and now he's trying to, catch that falling knife. Like, where's it gonna stop? And I was like, prices are rising, so I don't know. But, I think it's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I think things are definitely going to soften up going into the election, and there's so much uncertainty around that. I don't know. I sort of think things will keep moving in a generally upward direction. I think we hit. I think it all depends on. It's all about coronavirus, right? Like, if we find out that we're through the worst of it and we can now cope with this shittiness, sorry for swearing, but we're all real estate professionals. We swear. And we know what we're looking at, and we know how it is going to suck. Like the first 3 weeks, everyone hit the deck, right? No contracts, no new listing.
Yeah.
Everyone just hit the deck to see what was going to happen. And then we realized, oh yeah, this is very bad. It's going to suck. But we know we know the way in which it's going to suck, and we can now make some plans around that. So I think if things if things progress, or if things stay the same or just get slightly better or even slightly worse, I still think people are going to proceed with their lives and still buy and sell homes. But it's what's that other curveball, right? What else is 2020 going to throw at us?
Enough, no more.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
What's next? I think that's sort of the black swan. It's hard to tell what's going to happen in a year. But anyway, I guess that was a long way of saying I don't know. Does anyone else?
Guys, I was a full-time realtor in 2007. So, when you start with seeing just the market going up, it's interesting because you don't know what to expect, right? You look around and you're like, okay, what the heck is going on? So when the COVID came back, I went straight to 2007. I wanted to, I compared what happened now with what happened in 2007, 2008. We're in a different time. This has nothing to do with the real estate. What's happening right now has absolutely nothing, even job-wise. Because let me tell you something. Most of the people that lost their jobs, they didn't buy houses. You have to understand something. A lot of waiters don't own homes. A lot of the kitchen, in the back, the chefs, no offense, I'm talking about just statistics. That's all I'm talking about, because it's based on the income that people earn. If you are a 1099 and you make little money, how do you qualify for anything? And how do you save money to buy anything, right? But in the same time, 2007 was a housing bubble. What happened was the interest rate, the no money down, what was happening, the appraisals, they got the market in a place where the rentals, the payments were not sustainable. The payments were interest only. Look around. In the last 10 years, we have the lowest foreclosure rates in the history. The normal foreclosure rate is 3%. That's normal, historical. In the last 5 years, we've had it 1%. So the credit had got so tight, so the lenders have learned how to approve people and to give them loans, and they got so tough on it that they barely give loans to the people that can afford it. And the rates, plus all the loans, most of the loans are principal and interest, right? 30-year fixed. We know that there are no more, floating rates unless you are an investor and you know what you're doing and you have a lot of cash reserves. Everybody has fixed principal and interest loans. So now you control the payment, and the rates have got so high that over 80% of everything that's on the market, it's covered by the rent. So now your interest doesn't change. If you are in trouble, you just rent out the house. Then the government just gave a 6-month, whatever it's called.
Forbearance.
Right? Yeah, forbearance. So move the property, don't make the payments, pay only tax and insurance, right? For the next 6 months. And if you're still in trouble, we'll give you another 6 months. And the banks don't want to foreclose. I just closed on Friday on a new construction for myself of $1 million. 5% interest. A year ago, I would have gotten 7.5. Do you know what the difference is? 2.5 and $1 million for a year? Huge amount of money. Huge that I can keep in my hand. So I build, because right now, the people they build, the people that take the loans are going to be the people that are going to be wealthy. I come from a country, from a former communist country. I've seen what inflation is. What is happening with the printing dollars today, we're going to see in 3-4 years from now, the value of the dollar going down. The milk will be, $7-8 per gallon. The gas, we'll see how much, but guess what's going to happen? The rent is going to go up like crazy, and whoever has the loan, they're going to make so much cash flow, they're going to swim in it. So the next wave of the people that are going to become wealthy, it's the people that take 30-year fixed loans. So you guys that are on the phone, on the call today, if you don't own homes or if you don't own investment, get out after this call, call your lender and start buying properties. I am not kidding. Even if we have to move and get an FHA to move in a 4-unit for free or whatever you do, get out and get for yourself properties, because that's how you're going to become wealthy. And guess what? Your clients will trust you because you put your money where your mouth is. Stock market is a bloodbath. I have a client right now who's buying 1.6 million in cash because her parents have pulled all their money from the stock market and they're giving it to her. They're like, well, I have nothing to do. Keep it here. We'll refinance later. I don't care. We're not putting the money in the stock market. So think about it. And the market is not going anywhere, not in Chicago at least. Miami, California, where the Asian money is getting out because, their prime minister is asking for the money back, that's the situation. But Chicago, we are still undervalued. Chicago is the 8th most undervalued city in the world and is the 5th richest city in the world because of the headquarters, the companies that we have here. When you have that kind of money and that kind of power, and with what is happening, I would say we are pretty strong. Just buy where next, close to the train, buy in the path of growth, buy close to the universities, the hospitals, we're going to be safe.
Well, Manita, are you noticing any issues with current investment properties where tenants are unable to pay rent?
So tell the truth, all my tenants are paying, or my clients' tenants are paying. So we were kind of smart. So when at the beginning, when my clients were calling me that, the tenants start trying to not pay rent, to say, hey, I'm sick or whatever, I have the virus, I call my clients and say, you know what? Tell them that that's okay. Of course, the city of Chicago is going to help. If you remember at that time, the city had, you could apply. So I said, tell them to prepare their file, to have all the records of being sick, of being laid off, of having everything, and apply with the city. Guess what? Within 3 days, everybody got payments. Because a lot of the tenants are trying. Mm-hmm. They get the news in the TV that you can get away with it. I'm not saying that that's not true and people are not there pay people that don't pay rent, but depends on who you choose as a tenant. You look for somebody with a credit score, responsible, that has been long-term at his job or long-term in a residence. Those are responsible people. They don't want to, especially now. Who the heck wants to be thrown in the street? And if you take an eviction, you get an eviction, how would you find another housing?
Yeah.
So don't worry about people not paying. You just make sure you find somebody that makes 3 times the rent, has great credit history, and pays the rent. I had somebody I think we did 9 rentals in the last 2 months, and I'm changing 3 of my tenants. I mean, people are moving. Usually they don't move, but anyway, I had an applicant. She's making $130,000. She has $1,200 in credit cards and 7 late payments. How can you make $130,000 a year and you have 7 missed payments on a payment that's $120 a month? So she was like, well, I can bring a consignor, I can bring. I was like, no way. This is not a responsible person. I don't care how much you make. If you're not responsible to pay and make $120 payments, like, oh, I forgot to make the payment, 7 months. So you have to just make sure you get the right people in your house. I prefer to keep my properties empty until I find the right tenant, but then my tenants stay. So and again, would you mitigate everything? No, build reserves. Make sure you have reserves to pay for a few months of mortgage if the tenant moves out and you don't have time to find someone. As a landlord, you do have a little risk. You have to have money, right, to fix up the property, for vacancy. So take that in consideration, right? But like I said, the rents right now are so spectacular. I mean, I still sell buildings where my clients live for free. I sell them 3-4 unit buildings and they live for free in one of them because the rents cover. So even if one of the tenants is out, not the problem. And most of my properties are like that. If I have a vacancy, I'm just not making profit that month. Big deal. But I can afford to keep my properties, right? So look at the numbers. You buy based on the numbers, and buy based on the condition, because you don't want to put massive money in the property. But my advice for you guys, go ahead and buy. Every one of you. This is how you're going to pay for your kids' college. This is how you're going to pay for your pension. This is how you're going to be able to spend summer, winter somewhere else, right? And travel the winters. My rentals pay for my lifestyle. I had to sacrifice for a few years, a little bit longer to get them, but now I have the lifestyle I want. And the clients will follow you guys. If you do that, you're going to build both your homeowners and investor business. You're going to make money. You are just going to live out of referrals and past clients, because the moment you create an investor, they're going to come back. They're going to want to buy more and more when they understand how their investment grows and their tax deductions and how they save money.
Agreed.
Somebody mentioned, I'm curious, somebody mentioned the election coming up. Does anybody, and this is for obviously anybody, do you think that'll affect positively or negatively heading into November?
I don't think so. Personally, I was expecting it to change in the 2016 election going into 2017, and then the prices just kept going up. So I am a heavy real estate investor, and I was sitting on a shit ton of cash waiting for the market to take a dip, and it never did. So
I don't think prices will go down. It doesn't happen that fast. It just seems like volume always dips a little bit going into that uncertain time. So that really only applies to realtors in terms of like whether it matters. And that's what I've been telling buyers and sellers. That's what I've been telling our clients about coronavirus crisis. I think I said, well, for realtors, it might not be great, or mortgage professionals or anyone who makes their money off of a transfer of property. That ended up not being the case, I think, for based on the way things have been going, kind of like we were talking about earlier. But, I don't think prices, real estate's so illiquid, prices don't change just because of a couple of months of a slowdown. So I don't think prices will change, but I see, someone can fact check me on this, but going into the 2016 election, I remember very busy, great spring, pretty strong summer as well. And then right around September, October, things kind of dried up a little bit. And then, regardless of your politics, I think everyone was a little surprised in November, and then kind of let that sink in. And then all of a sudden, December was busy. It was one of those years where we got an early spring in December, and then 2017 is the frothiest market I can think of since 2013. So it was a temporary dip that only applied to realtors. Be interesting to see without baseball playoffs happening at the same time this year. I never know. Was it the Cubs? Was it the election? Was it both? Who knows?
Yeah, that is. I also want to give Lisa Raimondi a chance to chime in on the attorney side, because she has a pretty big wealth of knowledge and experience. So, Lisa, can you hear me okay? I think she froze. That's all right. If she comes back.
Is Lisa in San Francisco?
No.
She's in the clouds of San Francisco.
It's a virtual background. You can't see her angel wings.
That's right.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think my internet is really bad today for some reason.
You're back.
To be honest with you, after the first couple of weeks, I feel like from the legal side, we haven't, aside going to closings, and the whole closing process has been so different, but the actual, contracts and everything has been pretty much the same. Initially we had associations maybe not letting people move and just restrictions on that kind of things. People weren't sure if they were going to be able to move and move out, and people were maybe trying to push back closing dates and things like that. But I mean, after the first month, I want to say that everything pretty much went back to normal. We've been obviously all adding, riders. I know you guys have your own riders that I've seen attached to the contracts. And if not, we've been adding a rider just to make sure that if something should happen with one of the buyers or sellers, that we can postpone the contract if we need to. But like I said, other than obviously the actual closings have been very, very different. It's been very odd to do them from home or do them from cars, not having the, realtors there. I think maybe doing some of the walkthrough issues have been a little bit more difficult because we are dealing with them more at the table and not having people there to show us pictures and things like that. But I don't know if you guys have seen any more legal issues, but from my end, I feel like, things have actually been pretty smooth throughout this whole thing.
Can I ask you a question, actually, that I'd love a second opinion on? NAR has put out some guidance, and I believe CAR has mimicked it, basically saying that, so we've seen a lot of these showing disclosures. I'm sure everyone here who's a realtor has filled one out so far. Actually, Lisa, if you haven't seen one, because you're not doing showings, but it basically says, hey, everyone knows coronavirus is dangerous, so if you have it, please don't come on the showing. And everyone who's coming has to sign the form. And CAR and NAR have both put out the same guidance, basically saying that that's not necessary because everyone knows there's a global pandemic, and that every time you leave your home, you run some risk. It would be almost impossible to prove that you contracted the coronavirus at that given listing or that showing. And even if you did, it would be difficult to yeah, basically it would be difficult to prove that you got it from there. So that made me feel better for a second, because we were working on our own set of forms, not just for that, but for buyers that we're taking on as clients, saying, hey, we're about to go walk through some strangers' homes. And for sellers to add to our listing agreement, hey, some strangers are about to walk through your homes. We're going to be really careful, but there's some risk there. And so we were starting to put that together. And then I said, you know what, I feel like cars should be on this. Why are they not? And I reached out to a friend who is part of that decision. And that's kind of what he told me. And so I felt better for a second, but then I started thinking about it a little bit more. Oh, I know what the last thing was. Nothing is going to stop, all that notwithstanding, nothing's going to stop anyone from suing you anyway. It's all a form that you made them fill out in advance. I'm just thinking about when like this contact tracing becomes more of a thing, because case numbers are going to go up and someone's going to get sick and they're going to have to call or have someone call everyone that they've seen. And that's going to include a bunch of properties. And then one of those people gets sick. I don't know. Do you have a take on that? We're not using any additional forms there. Should we?
You know what? I lost you at the very end. Oh. You were just saying for the contact tracing part.
Yeah. Oh, I'm just saying eventually it's going to come out that a sick person came through one of our listings, and then one of our clients is going to get coronavirus. You know, or that could happen. So should we? I don't know. Do you have any thoughts? I know this isn't exactly a real estate transaction question. It's more of a business liability question. So if that's not in your wheelhouse, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, I think that might be a little bit outside my realm.
All right.
I mean, obviously, you always want to protect yourself. But like you said, those forms, I mean, they're kind of similar to the waiver of liability forms we all sign. You know, when you go to a park or a amusement park or whatever, there always seems to be ways around them. So I think just in general, I mean, you've just seen it now. There's been a lot of attorneys who are trying to get people out of contracts and things like that, just, you know, based on Corona. So I mean, there's always going to be someone who's going to be able to, you know, try to work the system and find a loophole or something. But I mean, I think you just have to do, you know, whatever you can to protect, you know, yourself. And I always would err on the side of disclosure more than not disclosing stuff.
For those of you who are other brokers, I'm just curious what you guys are doing. Do you have additional forms for showings, for buyers, for sellers?
So I have it for tenants actually, because I work with investors. I have a lot of rentals that I do downtown. So the properties are tenant occupied. I have them sign that they understand, you know, that what we're doing, and the fact that this property, you know, we are asking them not to come sick. They will wear masks and gloves and shoes. So, but I want their signature, their agreement for the showing. During the quarantine, it worked well. After, though, most of my showings stopped on those properties because the agents didn't have time to, you know, to print the form, send it to their leads, to their tenants, to sign it and send it. So all of a sudden I noticed that the properties are occupied. They stopped having showings. So now I actually just kind of try to stop using them because I've used them for a while. But in the end, if I can't rent the property, what the heck am I going to do? Because again, it's a lot of extra work for the agents. Remember, we have to now have time to schedule appointments, make phone calls, then we have to work with the pending client, right? Work other appointments, go to the showing. When do you have time to start print for, like, you're doing 6 showings, print 6 forms, send them to a dot loop or e-signatures to your client, to the tenant to sign it, and send it back to the agent, and they have to schedule it. I'm like, okay, forget it. Too much of a headache.
Sidebar, I almost upgraded, but didn't. DocuSign Power Forms, you can create a template with a link, and then so it'd be the same waiver and the same link to every single person. They fill in the address and they can sign it right there. It would save a lot of time, but it was extra per month, and we decided not to do the form anyway, so I didn't.
Yeah, so again, I do like to give it to the tenant though. So the property that's tenant occupied, I do want them to sign something so they can come to sue us later to say we brought people through. At least I have something. At least I was saying nothing is 100%. Whoever wants to sue you, they will sue you no matter what. And you know, our agencies have good error omission insurances, so we know that they will come after us if anything. But at least if I have something, it works. But for the buyers and sellers, I don't even mind. I mean, these people know what they're doing. The seller wants the house sold. The buyer wants to buy it. I mean, they're adults. They know what they're doing.
I agree. Anyone else have forms at their brokerage? Michael, I know you're COBOL, right? Does COBOL
We
do
have
it?
the forms, but I'm not that strict with it. You know, as Lisa said, there's always a way around a waiver. My business partner is an attorney, and he's like, I don't have anybody sign it. The only thing that one of the biggest practices that we've changed since COVID is we're vetting buyers. So even on all my listings, any showings that are coming through, I'm having them send me a pre-approval letter, which I think is a practice that will continue. You know, it definitely weeds out a lot of looky-loos and people that are, you know, have no business in buying anything.
Is that just to not waste your time during the COVID situation with everyone being extremely cautious?
Well, I mean, it's not just wasting time, but it's like minimizing my exposure or me exposing, you know, any illnesses that I have to other people. You know, I think that's just the safest practice. And I tell people, like, since COVID's happened, you know, we want to minimize as much of this interaction as possible. And if your buyers have no business in buying anything, we don't want them coming through my seller's home, you know.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So
Actually, guys, I got a multiple offer situation this weekend. I got today my contract signed, even though there are other other offers higher than mine, because my contract was not just pre-approved, was fully approved. So Michael is right. You get your clients fully approved, guess what? The seller will appreciate the other agent. So there are offers that were like 10,000 higher than mine, but the pre-approval or FHA pre-approvals, mine was fully approved, conventional, and the buyer was like, you know what? I gave a lot of earnest money, so I wrote a strong contract, but the pre-approval was the big tie-in that we got it. So that's why we got it. So, and I tell the buyers, so, you know, the interest rate changes. You want to know exactly what you're getting. You want to be fully approved. You know, the lenders are stricter and stricter. You want to close in time. Let's get you fully approved. The inventory is so tight. We're getting multiple offers. You're going to win if you have it fully approved. And they understand. And it saves us time. And I go over properties with the clients on Zoom. It saves also on showings, because it's like, you said you want to finish basement. This house doesn't have finished basement. Why you want to show it? Do you have 20,000, 30,000 to fix it? No? Okay. So save and protect everyone, right? As Michael was saying.
Yep.
Hey, Andy, you've had a couple of these already, right?
Yeah, this is, I believe, our 7th. Yeah, I don't know. I like to call them jam sessions because it's it's pretty organic. So,
any other thing? Are your other jam sessions similar topics of conversation, or any other interesting takeaways from some of the other ones?
It's funny because all these have a mind of their own. It's kind of funny. Like, some people will talk about one thing for 25 minutes. Sometimes it's just ping ponging around a certain thing. I'll ask this because this seems to be a hot topic. I mean, everybody seems to be pretty busy now in the current. I'm curious what everybody's doing. And I guess, you know, we got 5 minutes. I have a hard stop at like 3:07 because I got something at 3:10, but I don't mind if it goes a few minutes over. What are people doing now to keep their pipeline full for, you know, I guess as it gets toward the election, which, as we discussed, probably won't affect this, but like as the weather gets cooler, I'm just curious what everybody's doing to kind of keep their lead bank full.
Same thing I always do: calls, notes, Popeyes.
So dive into that more. Like, what does that look like for you?
So I'm still calling all my clients and doing a lot of video chats. I'm still writing handwritten notes to all my people. Popeyes in person before was a face-to-face. Now it's dropping something off in a mailbox and texting them and saying, hey, I just dropped off something in your mailbox. Hopefully you get to it before the mailman gets to it. Ha. And then
that's good, dude. I love that.
And they'll call, and like they'll usually call or text me and say, hey, thanks so much for the treat. That was awesome. Like, you know, I want to minimize exposure, but I want to let them know that I'm still thinking about them. And
that's good. What are some things that you do? Like, what's the treat, I guess?
When it was cold, I was doing blankets. You know, I got your real estate needs covered. Now it's like little packets of like kettle corn, little Garrett's popcorn bags. So, you know, I popped by with something sweet or something sweet in your day. You know, just a little bag and throw it in their mailbox. And then I shoot them a little text, and they've been super well received considering most people are home. and have nothing to do. So maybe that's why they're actually texting or calling me back.
And you can leverage your time too, I'm sure. I mean, rather than not that like we don't like going out and seeing people, but going out, parking, swinging by, or you can put 20 gifts in the mail. I'm sure it's more efficient too.
I was pretty efficient before. People would invite me in. I'd say, I can't, but, I really appreciate it. It's a pop by, not a plop by. I'm not going to hang out all day. So I can like squeeze in like 15 to 20 in an afternoon versus like 1 or 2 where I'm staying for an hour and they're feeding me.
Yeah. That's good stuff. Anybody else? I mean, doing fun, creative things like that just to stay top of mind.
So I have my top 10%, but I've been in the business 18 years, right? So I know who's sending me most of the business. So I have 8 clients. These are the people that send me 5, 6 plus leads a year that actually close. So I take them to dinner usually. So I set up dinners for them. And if I know what they're interested in, I might have a little present or send them later. But I've already started because, you can have that dinner on the patios, right? So I've already had one 2 actually, both last weekends, and have been spectacular because usually I get the referral right after. So I like to take people to dinner. You have time to actually talk and they have time to connect with you, and you can have time to see what moves their boat, right? Like what they're really interested in. And I'm interested in travel. A lot of people are interested in travel. So that's right there. It's a big thing. A lot of them are in gardening or cars. Well, I don't know anything about cars, but everybody has something. And if you know what they're interested in, then you can actually send them an article later on, or keep them in the top of their mind. And because I work with investors, every time I get a good article or something, some good statistics, I will just send them a personalized text. Hey, I know you look at what's happening in Logan Square next to your property, or look what's happening in IT Center next to the property that you just bought. Can you believe your property went up 100K? Look at this building. So I will make them happy. So everything gets happy messages. And then I teach my seminars. So I continue teaching my seminars, adding them to my list. And I ask them if they have anyone that wants to learn more about, financial literacy and investing in real estate. And like I'm offering something, right? So if I text it or I call them, it's not just to say, hey, send me a business. I just say, as you know, I know you like my seminars. I have one this Saturday. Who do you think that I, should join? And I keep it full. And for me, winter also works really well because most of the agents are in vacation and most of the sellers and buyers are in vacation. So what happens, people that couldn't buy during the year because they were always overbid, overbidding, right? They can buy in the winter. So my winters actually are, sometimes I will get 10 contracts in December or 10 contracts in January, which is spectacular. So my winters, I make them, and I also force them in a month or 6 weeks because I want to travel the rest, which again, forces me to get production for a quarter while I travel most of the time.
And then you can kind of take care of it during or when you get back. I like the geographic. Hey, your property can you believe what's happening in X area?
Oh yes,
that's good stuff.
Because what your clients bought, right? So every time you see something happening or a restaurant next to them or something that happens, like, can you believe that? I'm just how much you think is going to raise your value? Or that part that is opening. Or did you see this announcement? This big office building that is coming up, or the new train station that is opening. Oh my gosh, the rent's probably going to explode. And they're like, oh, did you see that? By the way, I was thinking, I was thinking maybe I should buy another one. And, we start talking and all of a sudden they're like, they want back in the business because I got them excited about what's happening. And they're really, because a lot of times they don't know that their properties went up, right? Because they're not stopping at open houses. They don't know what's going on.
They don't breathe real estate like
exactly.
everybody on this call. I think we got time. I want to be respectful of everybody's time because I blocked off 3:00. But I think we got time for one more, and it doesn't have to be a realtor. I know the partners are pretty savvy marketers themselves. So if anybody wants to chime in, anything creative they're doing just to kind of keep their pipeline plush for as we head into the colder months. I know that's the last thing on everybody's mind now, but it's always good to prepare and forecast 6 months down the line. So anyone else?
So I do a lot. I've actually found that COVID has been great for my from a distance marketing. So I do a ton of in the mail type things, whether it was umbrellas or just random notes, flower seeds. I went through a big COVID baking phase, so I was dropping baked goods. So it's not grand gestures, but for me, and I think what aligns with my personality is it is those little things that can make just enough difference. And for clients, so all my clients that it was coming up on 1 year, I dropped houseplants on their porches, the ones that have yards to plant in. So just little things. I mean, they're little dollar items, you know, from my perspective, but just ways to stay top of mind. And people love getting mail. Like, who doesn't love getting something in the mail? And so I found that just kind of that personalized touch, the feedback I wasn't expecting. So like coming up, I've got 4th of July bandanas going out to people with dogs. Bandanas are
cool. No, that's it. I love the creativity.
Yeah, cool stuff.
We can kind of no, that's super cool. And you got us some cupcakes too. So my kids did the whole. If you scroll through my Facebook feed, anyway, they enjoyed it. That's all I'm gonna say. That's pretty much it. So if you're out, what I'll do is I'll send the link out to this. If you're interested in getting on another one of these, just reply to that email or shoot me a text. We should be doing one July, maybe August. I feel a little bit of time should elapse, and then, you know, we kind of reconnect. We can sort of shuffle the deck too. We'll get different realtors, different partners on the call. One thing that we are super excited about, God willing, this will launch before 4th of July, is Chicago Real Producers is launching an app. It's called Digipub, which is all the real producers markets, but obviously you only care about Chicago. So that'll be the one that you will download. So I'm going to screen share this 2 seconds. We're pumped about it. I've had more. Everybody see that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay. So this is kind of the behind the scenes. But the challenge for us was uploading all the content. So, you know, they'll have an option that you can like share on, and it'll just be basically the publication on your phone. Yeah, it took some effort to get in there, but we're super excited about it. So a little sneak peek of that. And you know, there's a link on there. You can share. All the partners are on there. So
when is it still live?
So technically, I think you can download it, but we're in the phase of, we know there's going to be errors and glitches. So if you go on there and download it, it's Digipub. And then if you click on something, be like, hey, Andy, this isn't working, then we'll tell the software designer to fix it or whatever. But it's pretty cool. Yeah, the challenge was just uploading all the past issues and linking the partner profiles to that. Obviously, that stuff takes time. But I'll tell you right now, if COVID didn't happen, this probably would not be a task that we have done. So we're super excited about it. To be clear, realtors have been like emailing me, you mean this is going to replace? I love the hard copy. Nope, we're still going to do the hard copy when COVID is, you know, everything is safe. We're still going to rerun the events, still going to feature the top 500 agents. The hard copy will still go to the top 500 agents, but this is just something that's another layer of what we're already doing. So it'll get every realtor will have access to the app, but only the hard copy is going to go to the realtors and features and all that stuff. It was still a hybrid way of keeping the platform exclusive to, you know, the people who are doing most of the business in the city, while simultaneously giving our partners more exposure and just people who wanted to kind of be in the know on it. So yeah, we're excited about it. So that's it. I'll forward an email out just so everybody has everybody's info. And if you enjoyed this, you know, just shoot me an email back and say, hey, I'd love to do another one of these in a month or so, and we'll set it up. All right.
Thanks so much for hosting.
Bye.
Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, have a productive rest of your Tuesday.
Thank you.